All
I
right.
got The Law. That's the book I picked. What the hell did
That's
that
the
book?
book. We're
That
live,
is the
guys.
book.
The Law.
What's up, guys? This is the
Nice.
Guy Show, and we also have special guest Tyrone Keys tonight,
Yes,
who
yes.
joined us on the
Professor
ladies
Bling.
show, Professor Bling.
All
What's up?
about
This
the
is
bling.
Logic.
This
Got
is reason,
Gimpy. Got Reason. And again, this is the Guy
A.K.A.
Show.
Black Chad.
aka Black
Gimpy, you're
Chad.
Black Chad now?
No, Reason. You're introducing him,
Oh.
so I'm adding to his
Oh,
CV.
okay. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, if I'm Black Chad, we're in trouble.
Yo, dude, man.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're married to a person of color, so I didn't know if you're like it's wearing off on you.
Dude, I still can't get over that. That's the most craziest stuff. I'd just be Black Gimpy then.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
you overnight got into an interracial relationship.
Yeah, based on reading an article from some DEI group out of the Pacific Northwest that randomly decided the Slavic shared experiences
man.
make them Black.
Yeah, man. That's
That's
hilarious.
I mean, I'm
special.
sorry, man. I saw something today that makes me go, like, the level of DEI. So I read an article because now that I've been prepping for that show, the 8:30 show I'm doing in 2 weeks or whatever with KJ. So my brother gave me a bunch of stuff to prep. So now my computer has all this Jewish stuff that it didn't have previously, like feeding it, like lecture stuff that I podcast and stuff my brother gave me to listen to, preparation and websites and whatever. So now my Google on my phone, when it gives me my news feed, right, when you swipe right on it, you get like the Google news feed on a Google phone now on the Samsungs or whatever. The top thing was a DEI about a Jewish lady who worked at Google, who's complaining that Google uses their DEI, like they have a Jewish group of Jewish Google employees or whatever. They use that to leverage against the employees who don't stand with their choice to do business with the Israeli government. And she's upset, and she says they committed a criminal act.
This is happening in Israel?
No, it's happening here. It's a Jewish woman who worked for Google for several years, I think 7, she said, here in America, left the company because she felt that they were strong-arming any of the Jews who disagreed with their business choice to do business with the Israeli government on a military defense contract with Amazon and something else. I forgot who the third party was. I just so now I'm getting all these things. It's amazing how they twist DEI. I will never understand how employees think the company is supposed to listen to them for what corporate do you
Come
do
on, man. You know how this happens.
no, but I'm just saying, like, in general, like, this whole concept has gotten way out of hand. If you don't like what your company that you work for is doing, go get another job.
Right.
Like, it's
It's really that simple.
Start your own company. Right.
Right. If you don't like it, start your own Google. But, like, why are you telling Google how to do its business?
Absolutely.
Like, if you don't, I'm not saying you should like it. I'm not saying you should support what Google does. I'm just saying that if you don't, it's not Google's job to appease you, the employee. It's Google's job.
Yes,
to
it is, man. It's 2022, man.
Yeah,
it's everybody else's job to make me feel good.
I can't. But I see tons and more of this stuff popping up in my feed since I started prepping for that show. It's crazy.
So tell me about the Tuttle Twins book. We got to make some money, guys.
I didn't get to read it totally, we got to make some money. This goes into explaining in a very understandable way how federal government works and how a bill becomes a law, how the process in which we now don't use practically anymore works, because even the bills that have been passed recently did not go through this process the same way the book would describe it for the kids. It's a very good book. I mean, the series is amazing. Everybody should make sure they check it out.
So it's the Tuttle Twins, guys. Just the links is in the description. So I want to try this. I want to try this again. So every book does come with a workbook. Children's activities that accompany what they read. So and it's really for all ages, but particularly from ages 5 to about 13, 14. But let's try this again. So there was another Mad Lib in the theme of the book, The Law.
Oh my God.
So let's just go around the horn. So Reason, give me a location.
Oh Jesus! So we're already starting with me. Location. All right.
And let's keep it PG.
Keep it PG. Hell.
Oh my gosh.
Oh Jesus.
His response was, "Oh Jesus."
Oh, Gimpy, give me another location.
Washington D.C.
Okay. All right, here we go. How do you spell Washington?
Really?
DC.
WAS.
Nah, I got you. Where is Mr. Tyrone? Hey, Tyrone, give me an emotion. Professor Bling, give me an emotion.
Sadness.
Man, this is going to be morbid. Melancholy.
Well, anything about the law is pretty freaking morbid.
Yeah.
Reason, give me a verb.
Verb.
Yeah.
Squeezing. Or squeeze.
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 Gimpy, give me another verb.
Run.
Okay. Tyrone, give me a noun. Professor Bling.
Kim Kardashian.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
Well,
Kim
actually,
Kardashian.
Wow, that's definitely going to be odd.
Oh yeah.
All right, Reason, give me a number.
Number 0.
All right. Gimpy, give me a number.
68.
68.
Why did I think 69 was coming from you? I really
Professor
thought it was.
Bling, give me an adjective.
beautiful.
Okay.
Well, that goes in line with your last offering.
Ugh.
Oh, well, okay.
I mean, those who think.
Reason, give me a noun.
Noun. Oh, okay. Noun.
Wow. Deep thoughts by Blackjack.
Yeah, let's do Kim Kardashian. So let's do Joe Biden.
All right. There's an interesting one.
These are crazy, proper. I mean, I was thinking tree.
All right.
Oh boy.
All right, Gimpy, give me an emotion.
Anger.
Anger.
Well, I heard Joe Biden. That's the first emotion that pops in mind.
And last but not least, Professor Bling, give me a verb.
Old Town Mall.
Oh.
That's a verb?
No.
Oh, verb. Okay, I just went along with it.
Wow.
I'm going to Old Town Mall.
Yeah, I'm going
to.
Hey, this is Baltimore. It could be. You know what? Hey,
right.
I'm about to Joe Biden you, yo.
You mean you're going to steal my election?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'll give you one that's appropriate for Old Town Mall.
Oh,
Run.
my God.
Run?
Yeah.
Run.
Okay. All right, cool. So we're going to do run twice in this one.
Oh, you know what? Okay. You want me to use something else?
Sure. I mean,
Jump.
Oh, yeah. Run, jump, and play, huh?
Jump.
All right, guys. Hold on. Let me share this real quick. Stop screen. Share. Yeah, so like I said, these books come along with workbooks you can go along with. Hey, what's your name? Reason. Can you share the screen real quick? My screen. My Logic screen. Are you there? Yeah, so you have workbooks that you can go along with. So we're just gonna go through and read this Mad Lib from this workbook. Again, these workbooks are from ages 5 to about 10, 12, 13, 14.
Wow.
Scramble words, all this stuff, right? So here we go. All right. So we're going to fill in the blanks to the story below and create our own story of the Tuttle twins. And we're going to read the story, not to one of our parents, but we're going to read it to you, our faithful Metro conservative, urban conservatives. All right. So here we go.
Semi-fascist, you.
The Tuttle twins visit hell. The Tuttle family got into their van and went on a trip to Washington, D.C.
Also known as hell.
Yeah, Ethan and Emily felt very sadness about the whole idea. Their mom had been squeezed for a long time. When they arrived, the twins run their luggage and found the Kim Kardashian to play with.
Okay.
Mr. Tuttle decided to play with them too. Whoa.
Golly.
So Mrs. Tuttle was not
Golly.
happy.
Mysterious.
After playing for 0 minutes, they got hungry. It was time for dinner.
Kids.
So the family went to 68 to eat. Ethan decided to order something he had never tried before. It smelled really beautiful. Emily ordered her favorite big dish of Joe Biden. Oh, this is so inappropriate. After spending some relaxing time together, the family felt anger, but it was fun. Ethan and Emily couldn't wait to go home so they could jump.
Geez, that could have been so
That's
bad.
way better than last week.
This could have.
We won't get complaints from the back office about our.
Yeah, we got some complaints.
Wait a minute, we are the back office.
Oh,
well,
right. The back office is back office, I guess.
Oh, okay.
All right, guys. So, what do you guys think of the show tonight?
It was good.
Tyrone was on.
Well,
yeah,
Tyrone is the gangster purveyor of information, all things financial.
Absolutely. I always look forward to hearing what he's got to say about what's about to happen. I mean, he's
a lot is about to happen.
Resident financial prophet. He knows what's going to happen in the future finance well before we do.
Well, I feel the economic trends now are nothing that we can compare to in history, at least of this country. I don't think that we're in, or easier to say, we are in uncharted waters economically for the United States of America. Now, having said that, there were way worse times economically than we are now, like the Great Depression, the whole beginning of the 20th century, basically, in this country, while we were trying to adapt to the Industrial Revolution that we went through. I mean, we had serious homelessness, poor, all that jazz, and by Black Chad. I feel like this is uncharted waters, where we're at now. Because,
but is it really that bad though, Tyrone?
Yeah, because here's the thing. You've got. Let's just take one issue: the redefinition of recession. Okay. They're ignoring macroeconomic principles that are steadfast. Okay, number one. Number two, we've never been in a situation where the country we've got $30 trillion worth of debt, and that's not counting unfunded liabilities like Social Security, Medicaid.
Well, Social Security is bankrupt, isn't it?
It is.
2034. They're borrowing from Peter, like what I pay in my.
Well, it's a Ponzi. It's a Ponzi scheme at this point.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
At this point, it's a Ponzi scheme.
It is.
I mean, we only have there's like 2.1 people for every one person in retirement right now, or something like that. Like when it started, it was like 35 to 1. Right now, it's like 2 to 1.
And they borrow against it. Like that's the other thing. They don't use Social Security money only for Social Security. The federal government borrows against it so that it doesn't have to increase the national debt. That's why it's an unfunded liability, because they don't just use it for what they're supposed to use it.
So if we can kind of incorporate the last topic they talked about too, which was the families, what are some other unfunded liabilities that we really, kind of don't really look at as unfunded liabilities?
Medicaid and Medicare.
Well, you can really kind of make the argument. Yeah, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security are the three main ones. And you can kind of make the argument that even a large portion of the defense budget, okay, right now we're spending money on this unlimited credit card, okay? And I'm on the channel all the time saying that we're going to lose reserve currency status by 2035, mid 2030s.
Yeah.
He's calling it, you guys.
I'm probably late on that. It's probably going to happen sooner. And what that looks like is right now we got the dollar is 59% of global reserves. Okay. So it's by far the largest one. But by 2035, mid 2030s, we're going to slip below 50%. And when that happens, you're going to have this is how this looks. We're not going to be able to afford all of these protracted military engagements. All you've got to do is look at the UK when the pound sterling lost reserve currency status in the 1920s. Just look at what happened to them on up to present day. And that's basically going to be the same kind of thing that happens to us.
I have a
So-
question, Professor.
So Gibby raised his hand.
I was gonna say,
Seriously,
Professor.
does it? So you mentioned the $30 trillion debt. To be fair, that debt only matters if someone comes to collect. Like, and even then, the United States, as long as we if we don't even pay like Biden is touting that he reduced the debt, right? Like that he paid down.
Is it reduce the debt or reduce the deficit? Which one?
He reduced the deficit, and in
Okay.
turn, making the debt not grow as fast. And they're trying to claim that as a victory, because I feel like more and more the people who control the levers of power believe that that's artificial, that doesn't mean anything. For example, here's my current example: the student loan forgiveness. They're not printing money. They're not directly raising taxes to raise the revenue to do this. They're literally just directly tacking it onto the national deficit. And it's
National debt or deficit?
National debt, yeah.
National debt. Sorry, my bad.
Okay.
Apologies. National debt.
Okay.
And unlike other things attached to the national debt, this isn't part of the debt because we're borrowing money from, let's say, China. We're having China buy our debt in order to fund it. We are literally just, the government is taking from one column of its Excel spreadsheet and moving it to another column.
So let me ask this: do you think the American people are kind of thinking like, if the government can essentially not pay its bills, I don't have to pay my bills either? Like, is that kind of like a culture that's being created? I'm not saying like, is that like a cultural, like, is that a culture that's being created now?
Well, let me say this: you're right that no one's coming to collect. Let me just hit Gimpy's point first. You're right. No one's coming to collect. But the problem is the debt is part of what's causing these other nations to lose faith in the dollar as a reserve currency, because there's so many dollars. We keep creating them.
Yeah, but they're tied to dollars. They do business in dollars.
For now. Look at
but I'm saying, like, right now in the current, I'm not saying like we'll move, like Russia is moving away from it.
Exactly.
Turkey's moving away from it. India's starting to move away. I get that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that as it stands, if you want to be a global nation, you want to interact on the global stage, you basically do business in dollars, whether it's oil. I'm just saying, so like as it stands, the powers that be in this country believe that will never change.
They do believe that will never change. And it's insane that they believe that, because
especially because they're pushing us off the oil. Like, if we leave the oil is our gold. It's it's our standard to back our money. If we're not selling oil anymore, if oil isn't needed, what is keeping the American dollar the currency of business in the war? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Joe Biden.
People don't understand what they're doing, and it's clear because they think the debt and our deficit and our budgets don't matter if they balance.
So you raise a good point, because the other name for it, the dollars, of course, the greenback, but it's also the petrodollar. And I have always wondered, how in the hell are you guys waging this war on oil when that is what the dollar is pegged to? Okay, so it's like, again, they're trying to rewrite these macroeconomic rules and don't understand the extent to which it's going to end up negatively affecting us.
Let me ask, who doesn't understand? Is it us, the public, or is it the government? Both. So you're saying the government doesn't understand its own system?
I think the government understands. Quite frankly, I think they just don't care. I believe they just don't care.
I'm sorry. If they understood the system, they wouldn't talk about the Federal Reserve being the most diverse ever, because you can arguably, even though it's not actually.
You said if they understood their system, they wouldn't talk about it?
No, because they wouldn't promote that diversity is why the Fed is doing its job better now.
But that's why they present. That's what they present to you, the people, to make it look like
themselves. They pat themselves on the back.
There are two kinds of bureaucrats, okay? There's the one, like you got your Jerome Powell, who understands how things work. Okay. Then you've got your Maxine Waters. Okay. You've got you that pyramid is filled with ignoramuses. Okay. And that makes it easy for Jerome Powell, for Janet Yellen, for those guys to do whatever it is they want, because most people in government do not have a clue as to how the economy functions. Do you really think Maxine Waters understands the structure of the government
You
that
don't
she's a
understand the
representative
structure of
in?
her foot.
She doesn't understand the structure of a pre-written speech. I mean,
Right, right. I mean, this is the status of the policymaker, the bureaucrat, by and large, and so that makes it easy to manipulate the system.
Here, what I was saying about them saying diverse, so I'm clear on this. When they promote that diversity is the reason why the Fed is as strong as it is right now, the Federal Reserve Bank, when I say the Fed, it demonstrates that they don't know, because we have record high inflation. They like to say, oh, inflation peaked, or it didn't rise as much as it rose the month before, but we're still sitting at record highs year over year, decade over decade. Like, we're at a point where we're at inflation that even during the 70s, you can argue that the inflation in the 70s was drastically less impactful than the inflation is today, because of the nature of how much more global trade that goes on, and how inflation in one country now affects other countries so negatively, especially since we're the consumer of 75% of the resources every year. But that being said, if they knew what they were doing, they wouldn't say things like that, because
Why wouldn't they? It's marketing.
Because their naysayers will instantly be able to say, well, that's why everything's, even though it's not actually correlated, that you can
look. There's some very brilliant people behind wokeness,
because they're not strong economic policy.
There's some brilliant people behind wokeness, though, man. There's brilliant people behind wokeness.
There are, but again, it's the pyramid.
Ibram X. Kendi is brilliant.
He's smart.
He's smart. He's not brilliant.
But what I'm saying is, like, there's this uncanny ability to explain and understand, but they don't have to explain it to you or demonstrate that they know. So I do think there is some knowledge of how this stuff works, but they don't have to explain how it works, because they can get away, because they know the people are going to be ignorant and not understand.
The people that understand it the most, that really are engineering things, we don't even know most of their names.
Right.
Okay. These functionaries that they've got out here, they know just enough. Okay. I know how to drive my car. I don't know how to put it together. Okay. So these folks that they've got out here that we see, they know just enough to be dangerous.
But what I'm saying is the direction that things are going in, it's not unintentional.
Not at all.
I don't know. I do think that they didn't believe when they said, so let's ask a serious question. We have just had 2 years where the economic aspect of our lives, the people who run it told us inflation is transitory till we're blue in the face. Then, well, it's not transitory. It's what was the word you used? Persistent, whatever.
Persistent, yeah.
Whatever. And now that, if they knew what they were doing, then, so the argument is you say it's transitory so that people have confidence and they don't get, brought down by
it's the same. It's almost the same thing as Trump saying, or not being so what is it? I don't scared at COVID's first appearance in the U.S. It's like the way
but arguably people will say that was the dumbest thing he ever did. Like,
okay, but this is what's happening. This is what's happening on the financial side now too. Is we don't want people to get scared economically,
but they lie.
So we're gonna tell you
right. I understand that's the mentality, but if that's the case, you have to show relief. There's no relief. It keeps getting worse, and instead of showing the relief and saying, okay, here's the transitory, now it's stabilizing, whatever. They keep having to come back and redefine.
So how much pushback is getting? How much pushback are they getting on these different definitions, though?
Well, I mean,
if you count right-wing pushback,
right?
If they don't count right-wing pushback, they're on. Okay, what have we learned basically this last week? If you didn't know it already, what have we learned? That there is a vast swath of the American public and its leaders who believe the other part of the country is semi-fascist. Right, so they don't govern. It's not like, so someone said this, I forget who said this, I think KJ said this the other day. There was a day and age where you fought it out in the primaries, and whoever the nominee was, you backed your nominee because that's the guy, right? Like, you didn't play tribalism within your tribe. So here we are today on our side of the line. We have nominees that are being torn apart, and now we have this tit for tat where everyone's saying we're not voting for the other guy in our party who isn't our guy that we wanted to win the primary. Across the board, we're having it. Like, these things demonstrate that they do not govern like, they're not interested in governing. They didn't want to be governed by Trump, and they're not interested in governing. They called us deplorables in 16. They called us something else in 18. They called us something third in 2020. Now they're calling us semi-fascist.
So what does that tell you, though? I mean, I think that kind of shows, like, there's the people
they care about half the country. I think half the country is
they don't. I agree with you. They don't care, but it's not like they're ignorant and they're not caring. They know exactly what they're doing.
Okay, so you're saying this is all by design to create a controlled decline?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't it be?
You can only do so much controlled decline in the economy as its own beast. So what happens now? We have all-time historic low.
But the Federal Reserve,
financial institution,
the Federal Reserve still is a private bank. So the markets are public, but the currency, like the Federal Reserve, is a private bank.
Yes. Even though it doesn't function like a private bank,
that can control,
like an extension of the government.
Right. That can control a lot of things.
Yeah.
Jekyll Island wasn't by happenstance, right? Like, secret meetings happen on purpose.
Yeah, but again, I think that they think things they're going to do will, because of what Tyrone said, because of what Professor Bling said earlier, I think they do things thinking they're going to have a much different effect, because in their mind, if we change the definition of recession, our policies work.
Well, I think that's just a common practice nowadays, right? Let's just reimagine. Let's reimagine. Let's rediscover. Let's change the definition. It's not inclusive enough. Those type of things, like, that's common practice now to change,
right? But it's
what words mean.
But these things are supposed to assist them in governing, in managing.
No. It's not assisting in governing. It's really assisting in creating more division and chaos. That is the goal.
Okay, that might be what is actually happening, but the purpose.
No, that's the goal.
Implementing these change. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I agree with you, but from their side, from the people who are changing the definition of recession, the definition of vaccine, the definition. They think by changing the definition, the meta rules that previously applied, because now the definition is different, the rules now change. Like, they think because they can change the definition of a woman changes, so therefore everyone is going to, all of a sudden, men are women.
Well,
and
what
there's
is
no problem.
Yeah, and that is not reflective of, I mean, you cannot have, if you can't agree on large aspects of reality, there's no way that we can,
gravity is always going to be gravity. You can say gravity's definition is different. Gravity's still going to behave like gravity behaves, unless you physically change the universe.
And when you talk about the redefinition of inflation, consider this. Now, I forget the guy's name, the economist that came up with the 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth, but he did that in 1974. Okay. Now, I posted on the channel a chart from the Fed that shows every recession since then had been consistent with just the 2 quarters of negative growth, GDP growth. They liked that definition so much that they went back prior to 1974, all the way back to like 1940, and applied it to every period since then. Okay. So this is something that has been consistent. And what this does, because I noticed that I looked at the updated Fed chart and they didn't do it this time. Okay. So this starts to skew financial, data. This starts to skew these principles that we've been operating on for a long time, simply because these idiots want to win an election. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, my take on this is that, yes, there are very smart people. You can't get to be the head of the Federal Reserve Bank without being smart. You can't.
All right, Gimpy, last word on here.
Some of the people who
Gimpy,
get
last word on this.
by pure personality cult, you can't fake your way into being a decent legislator. Like, there's no way. Like, look, there are people out there, for example, Dan Crenshaw. I'm not a big fan, but the man is intelligent. The man knows what he's doing, and he's principled in his approach. Like, not in a sense that he has principles. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to get into that. It's not that type of comment. It's like he sticks to his methodology. He sticks to his, what he knows is the way it's supposed to be, and he goes with it. But that doesn't make him, outside of what it should do to get him there, it doesn't stop him from manipulating the data as he presents it so that his argument is better. But that's universal. Again, my point in this is that there are you have to be somewhat smart to get up there. But once you're up there, these people then decide that maintaining power is more important than maintaining reality.
Yes.
So now we have this thing, like, back to the economy. So here we are now. You have the changing in definitions of recession and inflation and all these things. Why? Because they're trying to physically change the rules of economics. Since they can't get economics to work for them the way they want it to, we're now going to alternate what words mean, to change them, shift them, so our narrative works better.
Right.
For example, gas went up to whatever. Now it's coming down, and that's some big hoo-ha. No, it's not. Because until it's back to what it was before COVID, we're still paying more than we should be for various reasons.
But here's the thing. I want to add this because, like, when you compared this a little bit earlier to What Is a Woman, or I think either Tyrone, or like, that was something more tangible. Now, economics, right? Money is something that we use every day, but something very, 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 very few people really know about, right? And economics and money is one of those topics that everybody wants to do the best in, but don't want to know anything about. And it's one of the most boring things that you could ever discuss. It's math, it's finance, it's spreadsheets, it's charts, all these other things,
calculus.
right? So because it's such a kind of distant subject to the populace, it does become a little bit easier to then change these definitions and kind of expect the masses to follow, because there's only very few people that really know how these things work. When you're talking about what is a woman, like, everybody's born with biology, right? Like, everybody's born with this and can kind of have some inkling of what's right and wrong. But when it comes to finance, when it comes to money and economics, some people have never that use money every day. Some people have never had any sense of what economics means, how it affecting them. Yeah, they can feel the stuff in their pocketbook, but it still doesn't translate to how I understand these topics and subjects. So I'm just listening or just going with the flow with everything that happens when it comes to money. That's what I'm saying.
That's really the bottom line, is that they're able to do these things because, as you said, most Americans do not understand money. Okay. Most Americans equate money with, for example, a job. Okay. You hear very few people say, I've got to get some money. You hear people say, I got to get a job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because jobs generate money.
Right. They do. But
easiest way to,
they're not the most efficient way to, if you understand money. If you understand money. And then, the really sad thing is, you've got about 60% of Americans who can't put together $1,000 for an emergency, without touching a credit card.
I mean, you have
now, you
have, like, what is it, 70% live paycheck to paycheck, even if they earn over six figures.
Right. And that's a problem. When that shows you that people do not understand. When I was in the work world, they used to have this thing that would demonstrate to you how much you were being compensated. Okay. And this was their little way of trying to keep you, keep you at the company. So you go into this system and it say, your level of compensation is $350,000. Okay. And I mean, they took every little, if they were paying for a parking lot, they added that in. Okay.
Mhm.
If they gave you free sugar at lunch,
right.
in the
So
lunchroom.
this tricked a lot of people into thinking they were in a better financial position than they were. And this was part of that six-figure crowd that, was always, the second Thursday they were broke again.
Yeah.
You've got seniors out here that have worked for 30, 40 years, and man, they are really feeling the brunt of this economy because their income is fixed. Okay. And one of the reasons why the United States manipulates that inflation figure, and this is the reason they don't want to go back to that 1980 calculation and tell you that it's 17%. Because if they did, then they'd have to do the cost of living increases on the Social Security receipt.
Oh, and they would have to give all the federal employees a massive raise.
That's right.
The biggest thing is instantly the unions would have leverage on them to get raises. That's
right.
Thing. But
all right, so I want to move real quick because I want to bring some light because this is such heavy stuff, guys.
But wait. I just want to say one thing because about the.
All right, Harry, quickly.
Okay, so very quickly. We talked. You said that people don't know, but the people who do know, they get fooled very easily. And the best example are people who bought into the crypto, not early, late, like in the last 5 years. The people who bought into the last 2 years, let's say the last 2 years more accurately, who dumped $70,000 thinking that the crypto dream is never going to bust, and now they're all broke. And these are people who earned, who were good with money, understood the value of a dollar. Maybe not economic geniuses. These are people who, up until crypto came along, they were smarter investors. They looked at things as like, what is that tangible returns? I mean, ultimately, crypto is like an enhanced version of real money trading. You guys know what that is? It's when people buy video game money with real money so they don't have to earn it in the game. That's what crypto is. It's this. It has nothing tangible to it.
Not one thing.
That, like, people talk about, like, the crypto hackers love to say you don't need anybody. You can just take your wallet to someone else's wallet and touch the two, and make transactions that way. No, you need a network connection to connect to a blockchain to validate your transaction. Otherwise, it's an unvalid. And then that's what makes you be able to counterfeit crypto when you're not making that blockchain validated transaction. So,
about a year ago, I was talking to this guy who was a Bitcoin enthusiast. And we were having the gold versus Bitcoin discussion. And this guy literally said to me, well, Bitcoin has outperformed gold in the last 10 years. And I said, that's all you have is 10 years. I've got 5,000. Okay. So that look, people made money in the early days of Tulip Mania. Okay. But
the dude made millions off selling a pet rock. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can make money.
The early adopters. But without
comparing oranges to a Mercedes.
Without the knowledge to say, what is this thing backed by? Okay. What is its intrinsic value? And what is its utility? No, very few people were asking themselves that question. Okay.
All right, we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. I want to go. I want to go into.
Boss man wants to move on. Our economic wing is done.
I want to get you guys' reaction to this. It was something funny I saw on the internet this week. So here we go.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
People on both sides. Actually, great people on both sides. I know Harry. He's a great person. He couldn't vote for me at the time. Now he can vote for me once he gets out. I love Snoop Dogg, Double G, great person.
So do you love Death Row Records?
I love Death Row. I love Death. Excuse me. Fake news. I love Death Row.
What's your favorite Death Row record, Mr. Trump?
All of them. All of the Death Row records. Don't try to pin me down. I see what he just. Excuse me.
Fake news.
Excuse me.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Look out for
They tried to give me the virus. I beat the virus. I said they tried to give me the virus. Like, who is they? And the motherfucker said, I beat the virus. They were like, fuck yeah! He beat it! Motherfucking Trump, boy.
Oh my gosh! Like that had to be one of the funniest.
Yeah, but
that had to be one of the most funniest things I've seen.
It's a lopsided thing. because he'll sit there and he'll make jokes like that about Trump, but the damage that Biden's doing to him now, he'll look away from it. He'll not, he'll give it a pass.
Yeah, comedy is I don't want to say it's dead, but it is
on life support.
Yeah, definitely. You will not see a Tropic Thunder. You won't see that.
Oh man, that joint was hilarious. That movie
By the
was
way,
hilarious.
if I ever make a movie, I'm getting Robert Downey Jr. to play my lead black male. I just want everybody to know that.
You said we're 3 days into recording. We're already 30 days behind schedule.
I mean, you're not going to get movies like Mystery Men anymore. Let's try that. You're not going to get. You were talking about.
You won't get The Office anymore.
You won't get Seinfeld. Seinfeld would never be aired in today.
Yeah.
Friends, Seinfeld, Frasier, Cheers,
Martin.
What's that one? Everybody
Married with Children.
Married with Children. Get Married with Children.
Shit.
Married with Children was incredible.
Be out of the house over Married with Children.
Well, these they won't come on regular TV.
No, you won't get them anywhere. No one would be willing. Look here.
Have you ever watched Blackish?
Yes.
My
Blackish has an agenda.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like they still do it. Like they still do it, but it's like this. I don't know.
Rowan has the best example. He was talking about female archetypes. Like all of a sudden today, they're writing these terrible female archetypes. Yet he gives a list of female archetypes from our lifetime that were fantastically written. So what changed? The idea of what they're trying to accomplish. One, it used to be about entertaining people. Now it's about indoctrinating people.
Mm-hmm.
The best example from the right side now is this thing that looks hysterical. My Son Hunter or whatever, the Breitbart movie that's coming out with Gina Carano in it. Mm-hmm. Like this thing is going to be ridiculous. And the only reason why is because it's being made by a group that just doesn't care. They just want to make they have a political agenda. It's a hit piece on the Bidens, while at the same token creating the most. It reminds me of the Christian Bale movie about Dick Cheney, where he plays Dick Cheney.
I know the movie. I haven't seen it.
It's very good. It's very entertaining, and it's very left-wing. It's a very left-wing leaning thing. But at the same token, it's written because it has a political agenda. It's written like comedy is supposed to be written. The same way this Breitbart, My Son Hunter, is going to be written well because it has an agenda. We're no longer creating things to entertain. We're creating things to have a message. It's all about message.
So on that note, I want you guys to watch this because I want to get everybody's reaction to this. I want to see if this is entertaining or not. So y'all ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go.
Oh boy.
One of the diamond.
No.
Send the shit.
No.
Send the
No.
shit. What is you doing?
No.
What is you doing?
No, what are you doing? Oh. Oh. Oh.
Come on, you bitch. Yeah.
Bro, you smacking me hardest.
Bro, and you can smack me harder.
I'm not about to give you a man smack, bro. You will
fucking
die, bro.
Yo, he a bitch.
Bro, you will die from this power smack. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna do that to you.
Bro, so
You're gonna go.
Oh, really?
No.
And look how many fucking shares it's getting. Do you see the amount of shares that are popping up on this thing? Do you see the shares just scrolling up, sharing that imbecilic nonsense?
Right. I mean,
Chad, Reason, you haven't said Reason. I want to get Reason in here because he hasn't said much in like 30 minutes, which is uncommon.
I'm just. Hey, look,
You're just taking it all in, huh?
Absolutely. When you guys are talking about finance, dumbass. Now, when you guys are talking about finance, I'm definitely listening. But yeah, something like that is, blows my mind. I mean, because of course, as you can see, the young lady swinging because she feels that she just can. And the gentleman is not because he's feeling he can't. I was under the assumption or false presupposition that in present day society today, equal rights get equal lefts. One, two.
Well, they're smacking each other. Granted.
Yeah, exactly. But still, he feels that he can't do what he wants to do. But she feels that she can just. And when he holds back, he's called a bitch for it. Mm-hmm. So, one, I would never I would never play a game like that. 2, I would
Right.
never allow. I'm guessing they're together, right?
Yeah, that
I'm,
was
I'm guessing
boyfriend,
they're
girlfriend.
together or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
They said
Anybody
this
that's
is a real relationship.
this is a real relationship. It's not a
Yeah.
relationship with a woman that I'd be with. I'm just
I don't want anything to do with
yeah,
that
because I would
relationship. It's
absolutely not.
toxic.
Because the problem with society today in relationships is that, I just believe that we as men we're supposed to be refined and restrained and all of that when our women feel that they don't have to be. So if that's the case, that's something I would definitely.
So do you find it
Mhm.
amazing though that stuff like this is promoted, but like you guys said, like Married with Children or
Of course, it
even
makes
some of the
perfect
older
sense.
episodes of The Simpsons probably would get canceled.
You're looking
Again
at
and
the final
again, and I
result of
said this.
reality TV.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, please. All I want to say is that the final result of reality TV. What you just saw, that clip, is what reality is only entertaining because we guzzled up the reality TV craze, and this is what it. And once we started that, now everyone gets to be their own reality television
Right.
show thanks to
Right.
technological advances. I mean, I think the biggest problem is that we promote the lowest common denominator in general in society. I feel
Which is
like
what is that lowest common denominator now?
the lowest brow behavior is the behavior people want to emulate. Like that slapping thing. You have an opportunity, and again, let me point out, if you watch that video careful enough, you will see the little share arrows pop up as people are sharing it throughout the thing. That stuff is appealing to the lowest common denominator of what makes us entertained. It's obscene, it's extreme, it lights a fire under the manosphere guys like Chad for multiple reasons, as he stated. It lights a fire under a guy like me who believes that entertainment should have a value, that like good storytelling is more important than anything. We're at a point where it's not a matter of content, it's shock value. You're just shocked that this is being portrayed to you. And these, like, I'm sorry, if Yana said, let's live stream ourselves slapping each other.
Right.
I look at her and
Do you
go,
see how absurd that sounds to you?
right.
I
Like
mean,
I
just
look at her and go,
saying it.
right after
what I
we
mean?
live stream ourselves jumping off the roof. I mean, like that's the same.
So Tyrone, I want to ask you this to Gimpy's point. Like, I don't know if you've ever smoked weed before. I have like twice, and I don't think I've ever been high though. But they say like the first high, you kind of chase it again, so you have to then smoke more and more weed, or like that shock value kind of aspect of things. Like you want to be, excited like that again, and then you look for something else to get you to that next level or that next high. Yeah. So are we seeing in society now, watching that video, thinking about material content that we've seen before, like just the value of the shows, are we at a point now where we're just looking for that next shock high, I'm going to call it?
Well, first of all, a lot of people who I engage in discussions with about quantum physics think that I'm actually on psychedelics. So probably a step further than your marijuana. But look, you're right. This whole social media thing works off of this dopamine hit, okay? And you never get it like you got it the first time. With likes or views, or you get that little hit, that little dopamine high, okay? And these kids are extremely susceptible to that. I think it's very interesting. That was on TikTok. TikTok's owned by ByteDance. It's a Chinese company. The Chinese don't allow their people to look at TikTok, okay? All right.
That says a lot.
Right, exactly. So we're destroying the attention span. This is like literally something you would see two primates do at a zoo. You walk past and they.
So are you calling black people animals?
I But this is literally something that you would see, you know, this is like, what the hell are you doing? I mean, it's totally nonsensical. It makes me really happy that I'm not in the dating game today.
Oh
And
God, thank
I
God.
feel for these young guys, man,
Thank my Lord for Yana.
who have to go out here and try to sift through all of this nonsense to try and
but
find a
the
quality
the
woman.
videos playing the game though.
Say
Now,
again?
the guy in the video is playing the game though.
Yeah, but
Well,
that
the guy-
demonstrates how feminism is killing things. Because
Right.
that
I
is-
mean, because none of us here, like, I could not imagine. He gave the example of Yana saying, "Leslie, Yana would never do that."
yeah, because
Okay.
she's sane.
Right. Exactly. Our wives would never do. They would never even think of doing something like that.
Let's play
Okay.
slap.
We're gonna.
No, the bigger telling that from. I'm sorry, Tyrone, finish.
No, real quick, we're gonna sit here and physically abuse each other, and then we're gonna tape it and broadcast it to the world.
Oh, and you didn't leave a bruise. Look, my face is still good. Look at that.
Right. So, like, this is my question. What does this say about our standing where men are like, a woman is literally challenging you to hit her, right? Saying it's all good. And you are literally sitting there. This dude is afraid. It's a fact. He's afraid because it's all fun and games till you stop being amused. As soon as that woman is not amused, it doesn't matter she gave permission. It doesn't matter. It's clear that there's consent and it's video and everyone's involved. Nope. Now he's in a
right. When the cops come over, they're not going to want to hear we were having a slapping contest. Okay?
It's just not. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
This is another example of shifting definitions in order to think that if we change the definitions, then our abuse of the reality of or the physics of reality no longer matters. And this is another example of that happening on the bottom of the scale, not at the governmental level, but on the day-to-day life. You see it everywhere. You have all this interactions that people have that are trash now.
Yeah.
Now, do you think he's on the income pilot program in Baltimore City?
I have no idea. Why would I?
So
that's something we should talk about. That's something that really bothered me from today's show that they were talking about. Like, that gets to me, is talking about the Italian thing with the woman and paying. And first of all, everybody knows they pay 65% taxes in Italy. For whatever little money they make, they're giving overwhelming majority back to the government in the name of healthcare, social programs, and the Italian government is basically bankrupt. They have bread lines in Italy right now.
Right.
Like, people are waiting in line for bread. In Ireland, you have people waiting in their car for days to get coal at the end of August for December. Okay, so, like, let's talk about this for a second.
Let's go ahead. So
Talk
Gimpy's about to rant.
handing money to people from the government to live. What does that really mean? It's indentured servitude to the government. One, you become tied to voting for people who keep giving you the money. As long as you're giving the money, as long as you're getting the money, you're going to have to vote for the people that continue. Because if you're living off of it, it can never stop. If you have no alternate means, if I cut off someone who's living on these welfare programs, they don't have an alternate way to compensate out of the gate. They're not prepared. They're not trained for work. They're no employment or educational prospects, period.
So what's the difference between what they're doing and what the Democratic Party is doing?
There isn't. That's my point. My point is that we keep saying we should hand out money, we should give freebie. There is no freebie. There's nothing there's nothing. There are no freebies. The minute you say that the government is supporting you, then you are now a slave to that government. Right. It doesn't matter whether you want to believe that or not. It's the fact. If you survive off of the money being handed to you from the government, then you are obligated to agree with the government.
Yeah, you are. You are. So my issue with this, because the way the topic was set up, right? If conservatives believe in family values, shouldn't the government be able to support, women who stay at home?
In my mind, that's anti-family.
Yeah, it is, and it's happened before. I mean, it's nothing new. Like, and when we talk about how many two-parent households there were just as recent as the 1960s. And you compare that to now, when all of these programs to help the family, came to be, what has happened? Has the
1968 happened.
Has the American family become stronger or weaker? Have we had better economic outcomes or worse? Has our education improved or has it gotten worse? Like when you look at these factors or these outcomes, it proves that, hey, just being on the government teat, having government as the daddy does not work.
I mean,
No, it doesn't. I mean, the proof is right there in Baltimore City if you want to look at it microcosm. And one of the commenters just mentioned that they weren't familiar with Ireland citizens lining up for coal. It's actually Poland. There's
sorry, my bad.
Yeah, it's actually a router story out there now. They are definitely lining up for coal. But if you look at Baltimore City, look at all the metrics: graduation, recidivism, literacy, college bound, murder, shootings. They always try to separate this one out, which blows my mind. They'll say violent crimes are down.
But like shootings and murders are up.
Right.
Redefined.
Every metric. Let's look at some of the financial ones. Census data. Baltimore lost 1% of its population in the year 2019. 2020, 2021. 1% in 1 year. That's tremendous. Okay. And that's tax-based leaving. Okay. The citizens are in the papers every day saying they don't feel safe. So I think it has a lot to do. I'm a big advocate for saying, look, okay, politics is the problem by and large. Okay. You got a lot of people who don't know how to run their own lives. They're in politics. Family, that family unit. Once we saw those numbers start to decline, all of these other numbers went askew. And
so, Samuel Tegeek, he put an interesting comment. He said, "I think the loss of community is the biggest factor."
Facts. Absolutely.
So reason, what is the loss of community though? Because people say this. I think community is one of those words that are thrown around, but it's been kind of reimagined as well as it's being thrown around. Because when people say community, they're not talking about the family. They're just saying, hey, you can't, it's just the community. But what was the community?
You see, that's the thing. The community has always been family. And as soon as I saw his comment, when I saw, the loss of community is the biggest thing, my mind went to, community. When I was younger, we're all generally around the same age, give or take a few years. But I think we're all Gen X, I believe. And what I'm getting at is family back when we were community when we were younger was we knew all of our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And we were, not only did we know them, we were comfortable enough to go knock on the door and say, hey, you know what? I'm out of something. Do you have? You know what I mean? Or if a child of ours got locked out of the house, and this is before cell phones, like that. If a child of ours got locked out of the house for some strange reason, we knew that they were next door with, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, or we knew that they were, that's what family was. Church family, school neighbors, that's pretty much what it was. The church was even different than it is today.
Absolutely.
The church.
Color communism, common sense. I think that's the perfect
plug.
I knew it was coming. Yep, the plug of the book. The church was different. Hold on. Even school. I mean, my wife and I are part of the PTO. We've been part of the PTO since, and through that PTO Girl Scouts, we know the majority of the community here because that's what we, and all of that stuff is
engaged.
Yeah, really, all of that stuff has changed. There would be a point in which. The teachers.
Are you gonna work up at him the whole show, bro?
Yeah, you're funny. It'd be a point in which the teachers cared because the parents cared.
Right.
It was.
I don't think teachers don't care anymore. I think they care different. It's a different care.
No, man. I tell you, we moved our daughter, and I was telling Logic about this. We moved our daughter to another school. Okay, we got tired of the bullshit. It's one of those instances in which I'm like, baby, you have all AP classes in this school that you're in. But if you look at the ranking of the school, those AP classes are regular classes for every other school. You know what I mean? So we move her to another school. There are a couple of changes in it. Yeah, she's got to get up earlier. We have to but you know what? Her education is important. So because of that, the change that was made, you can clearly see the difference. We were in all of the PTO meetings in our old school, which had about 500 students, but those PTO meetings had about 25, 30 people in it. That says, what does that say? You know, these meetings that have about school budget for schooling, we're in that and it's got 10 people in it. I'm like, really? We go to this new school, which is only about a block further. It's like, she signed up for it. She made it in, blah, 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 all that good stuff. Went to the first meeting for that for 900 students, and it had like 500 people. The auditorium was completely packed. I'm like, okay, you can see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it starts at home. When we show that we care, it's infectious, really, because you're going to only put yourself around. You have to be the change. That's what I really believe it is. And I know I'm kind of moving off a little bit, but in kind of moving to solutions here. But you really have to be the change. You have to say, you know what? I can't continue to say that, you know what, the schools are going to teach my kids more than I am. You know what?
Yeah.
I can't continue to say that we are going to lead by example. Absolutely. You can't continue to say when at home, when we change at home, when we show at home that we want what's best for Logic. What do I say all the time? My wife and I, we're not personally from Baltimore. What do I say all the time? I have a love-hate relationship with Baltimore because it's our daughter's home. And because of it, we have to leave it a better place than we got it.
Yep.
So you know what? When we show that when we are willing to say that, you know what, some self-accountability and say, you know what, we need to do better. If we do better, we'll leave it better for it. That's community, man. That's how you create community. When you say, you take the initiative to go across the street and say, hey, who's this guy? You know, you just got, hey, my name's blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm Reason. This is my wife. You know, we're here. You know, you need anything, let us know. It's really
Gimpy,
that simple.
Your Reason's wife, Gimpy?
Say again?
Am I?
He pointed at you when you said, this is my wife.
No, I'm just saying, like, really, that's
flattered,
how you...
Chad, but you're not my type.
Much obliged, but all I'm saying is that's
we know you
how
like
you
people
bring
of color,
community
so-
back. He does, but that's how you bring community back.
Yeah,
you bring
absolutely.
community back by
Yeah,
saying,
but,
you know what,
you know,
I'm going to be the one to do it
You're not
because
wrong, but the truth is it's not just there. That's the family side of it. It's a much more granular issue, and I have an example out of my life. So you guys been to my neighborhood. My neighborhood is just under 500 units, row homes. It's isolated. It has no through traffic because it's on a peninsula on the bay, right? It's we have community events, and a lot of people know each other. A lot of people know me because I walk my dogs all the time, right? That sort of thing. But the other day, I got a text from my neighbor who's 2 houses down or 3 houses down from me. I got a package on my porch. Can you grab it for me? I'm away on vacation. Sure, no problem. I grab them. He had 2. I put it fine. This guy has lived in my community probably longer than anyone else I know that I interact with, like, regularly, right? He has no one else in the community he can ask. He doesn't interact.
Wow.
He's told me that the people he knew moved away, and he hasn't. And I'm the only one because I went out of my way to introduce myself. I interact with him. So this is a guy who's now. So let me get to the point. He's in Puerto Rico, and his heat pump on the back of his house sounds like it's going to explode. And I'm like, I text him, and there's nothing he can do about it because I can't get into his house, and he has no one that he has here to call to go in and turn off his AC. By the time he gets back, he won't have a heat pump, and if we're lucky, it doesn't catch fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the problem. Like, on such a simple thing, can't be managed. He can't get, because he doesn't have a neighbor he can, or a friend or something that can come and get in, right? Like, how is that reasonable?
Yeah, so we I think we talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, but it's like, how do you return back to the community when around every corner, like, trust has been broken, right? It's like like security, right? There's that we talked about it when we talked about like cybersecurity and stuff, but we also talked about it before when we talked about locks on the doors, right? Like at first you just had like a little lock, but then you got the deadbolt, and now you have the bars on the windows, and then you get the alarm system and the guard dog. So, but when do you go back to just saying, "Hey, I can just do a lock on the door," right? So, when it comes to our community, it's the same way. Like, how can I just go back to saying, "Hey, I can trust my neighbor," or it maybe not even be trust to say, "Hey, I know, my neighbor is there," because everybody is so scared of one
Isolated.
another.
It
Today.
takes. I got to be honest with you. It just takes one. All it takes is one.
Man, we have a bunch of ones around town, bro.
Like, look, a couple years back, we had this huge
Giovanni's
snowstorm.
one.
Yeah, of course. We had this huge snowstorm, and it took. I was telling my wife, I'm like, it's sad. It took this huge snowstorm for our neighbors to really get to know each other. Like,
Yeah,
I got
crisis
out
always
because I walked out and I just start shoveling cars out. You know what I mean? And then someone
Yeah,
peeked
I
out
wish
and
it
they were
just-
like,
I
"Hi,
just
how are
wish it
you?" And blah
didn't
blah
take-
blah. And then I'm like,
yeah,
and
sure.
we're all sitting down talking and all of that good stuff. And I'm like, dude, it takes something. It's crazy that it takes something like that.
Yeah, but how do you roll that into community come togetherness so that you had a moment, but now since that moment, how much has that moment been reinforced?
Well,
And
you
I
see,
think that
I've
that's the
moved
issue
since
is
then.
we
This
have
was,
lots of one-offs.
yeah, you're right. But we are the people that, like I said, it's the things that you do, hashtag Girl Scout Dad. Okay, so I have met for real. I've met so many people, and my daughter being a Girl Scout for the last since let me see, junior to since she was a Daisy. So for the last like 6 years, I've met probably her entire troop. Come to find out that half of the wives in the troop there are their families, and the husbands like own some of the small businesses in the neighborhood. So I mean, I've made sure to
You're right.
I've now look down at you. There you go. I've made sure to say that now we frequent those businesses. They know us. And if there have been plenty of situations and instances in the last few years in which if something has happened, hey, you know what? Don't even worry about it. They're at our house. You know what I mean? Hey, you know what? We
Tyrone,
got a flat
how do
tire.
we get
They're
that
at our
community
house.
back, man? Tyrone said just go get a farm and live on your own.
Pretty much, right?
That's community.
So how do we get it back, man? Because you grew up in look, man, you grew up in the city, right? You grew up in an era where you can go out, you come home when the street lights come on, right?
Right.
So how do we get that back?
Yeah. Yeah, I did grow up in the city and I really enjoyed it. But being an introvert, okay, I want space. And now I will say this. On the property that we live, we've been here for 20 years. And there are, including ours, there are 3 houses on our road.
Can you see them?
I can. I can see one of them. The other
he's I can see one of them.
Pointing to me tonight
because of your location. It's your location.
We have keys to each other's properties. I know one of my neighbors spends a substantial amount of time per year in another state, and me and the other neighbor pretty much take care of his property. Okay, and then when the summertime comes, it's nothing to see his tractor down here on our property, doing things. And this is not something that we with the exception of the keys situation, this is not something that we pre-arrange. I'm not saying I need a quid pro quo for this, So even in our little micro situation, we understand the value of having some semblance of community. Okay. It is valuable. Okay. And I think we do a pretty good job of it in our limited situation out here.
So my family members.
Hold on. Before you go into that, I'm sorry, Logic. I just Now, think about this. I don't know if you guys spotted this on the news a few weeks back. How what state was it? I think it was in Alabama, I believe. I know it was a southern state, SEC state, southeast state, um, in which a gentleman, just like you were talking about, Ty, he was out of town, and one of his neighbors was watering the plants. Was a pastor. Was a pastor. He was watering his neighbor's plants. Young lady called the police on him because she was like, he doesn't live there. I know they're out of town. Police showed up, and then the pastor ended up getting arrested for it because he was like, I'm not, like, what do I need to, they asked me to do this. What do I need to, long story short, the young lady called out, recognized him, and said, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have done this, after the fact. You know what I mean? So it's, you want to sometimes, and then,
But, I think that that one annoying neighbor everybody needs
No, that's me.
that looks out for the neighborhood.
No.
Oh, no. I understand that one annoying neighbor. I get that, but something like
hey
this.
Johnny, you got a package? Hey Johnny,
but something like this. That annoying neighbor. Why didn't after the fact she go? Wait a minute. You bring him back. He should not have been arrested. I realize now who this was. I know this person. I just didn't from the end of the street see who this was. I shouldn't have called the police. I should have just.
well, because it happened in wherever southern state, it's systemic racism.
What do you mean? It's everything
Systemic
is racism.
racism?
Exactly.
Sun rose 2 minutes later than I expected. It's racist.
Dude, that's like Yana saying it's
what happened.
Marxism. Stop. Like,
No.
come on, man.
I mean, it is.
It is.
But
So-
look, I was saying, like, far as the community, like on my block, you know, I live in West Baltimore, so on my block, my wife and she'll tell her friends, and they all joke me, you know, Giovanni knows everybody's name on the block. Yeah, I know the neighbors because, like, you know, you never know, you know. And I got a new neighbor, right, and someone stole the tools out of his truck.
Oh, wow.
You know, and he's a mechanic, right? So he like not mechanic, but maintenance man. So he's using tools like as his livelihood,
Right.
and so I was like, all right, so we need to go see this other neighbor, right? This other neighbor has cameras that essentially watch the entire neighborhood.
Nice.
You know, but you need to have that in your community, in your like you need to know who to go to when
Well, many
XYZ
people don't.
happens.
But many people don't. They're not even concerned. We're so obsessed with individuality now.
Yeah.
It's not like it's either we're obsessed with individuality or we're obsessed with communal. Like there's no balance. We refuse to
It
try and
takes both.
strike
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
balance. Like, yes, we all need to pursue our individual stuff, but it shouldn't be at the expense of our communities.
Right. Yeah. You're useless to the community if you're not an individual.
Right. So you have to, it's important to develop yourself, your likes, your belief, but at the same token, it has to be done in coordination with the world around you. You're not an island unto yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
So
right.
like in my neighborhood, because I've been working from home since I bought this house, and I've been able to be here, and I walk the dogs 4 times a day because my dogs are nuts and they need to be walked that much. But lots of people recognize me. My biggest problem is I'm terrible with names, so I call everybody by their like I talk to their dogs.
Oh, jeez.
Because the dog names I remember, but people's names. Oh man, I have one neighbor. I see him every day. I had Yana ask his neighbor what his name is because I'm
That's
so
horrible.
embarrassed. I couldn't remember. But I'm just saying, like, I see people interact with me. They know me. I know a lot of people in my little neighborhood here, not like socially, but just interactive wise. So like, if when there was a fire, you know, not far from me in the neighborhood, and we all went over, I knew the person. I was able to interact with them. I offered them assistance. But it shouldn't come like that's a failing on my part. It shouldn't only come that I'm engaged like that when they're in trouble. Like we should be engaging all the time. Like when I threw the party at my house that I had you guys all over this summer, I invited a bunch of my neighbors. You saw some of them came over. Like that doesn't happen the way it used to.
That's true.
That's another way as well. And you took the and I applaud you. You took the initiative to that's the other, because you guys asked what else do you do or how else do you, that's the other way to do it. Say, look, I'm throwing a party. It's a block party for you guys in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? That's the way. That's another way to do
or
it.
like
You know,
we
say,
had tons of extra beer after the party that some of it wasn't my, like I wouldn't drink it just wouldn't be something I drink on the regular. So instead of just letting it sit, I know a neighbor that likes that beer. I brought it to him. I was like, yo, dude, I know you like this beer. I got a 24 pack of it here. You know, you'll drink it, you'll enjoy it. It won't just sit in your house. Like these things are not normal anymore. When I grew up, when you guys grew up, when I grew up, I had a neighbor who was a good friend. My mom's best friend lived on the same block as us. I went down, her door was always open. I could go there, let myself in, say hi, get a snack, get it. Like my mom wasn't there, you know, get from, like you were saying, being at the neighbor's house. That doesn't exist outside of very controlled environments. Places
it's so
that
small
exist
town. It's
are
just like a
high
small
religious
town.
communities.
Yep.
That's the places that exist, places that are tied to their religious institution, whether it be Muslim, Christians, Jews, Hindus, Taoists, whatever. If they have a central unifying organization in their life, that's something the left gets really right, actually.
So speaking of that,
They
speaking
use
of the
their
left,
communal organizations to unify.
speaking of the left being right, Gimpy,
Mm.
you have an interesting debate coming up, don't you?
I do. 2 weeks from tomorrow, or a week. What is it? A week from tomorrow?
So what's that about?
On the 8:30 show, I'm debating whether the concept of the debate is which party is more in line with the Jewish belief system at this point in history. And arguably, now that I've done my homework, neither.
Wow.
I mean,
Now, hold on. Let me ask you this: is it neither from the fundamentals of either party, or is it neither the way the execution of either party?
Both. Because my brother
I
gave me.
I don't want you to. I don't want you to.
No, I'm not. I'll just give a little
here.
brief thing my brother told me when I was talking to him. So everybody should know my brother is a world-renowned genius. I mean, you can check him out, Rabbi Paratachbaum. He has videos out there for all those people who want to know what true Orthodox Judaism is. My brother and
that's a smart dude, you guys. Really check that out.
My
That's
brother and his contemporaries are leaders in Jewish education in this country, and it's important that anytime I have any fact finding in terms of Judaism, he's always my first place to go because he's my brother and he has to answer me. That being said and done, you know, he made a very good example. Everybody likes to think of politics as linear, as it's a line, right? You know, left wing, right wing, and it's not. It's a circle. The truth is that the far right and the far left end up in the same place with different ideologies. They might have different reasons for it, but they end up in the same spot politically, where they have overreaching government, overextending their individual beliefs onto everyone else. It's that sort of thing. And that's the problem. When I say it's fundamental to the execution and the belief system, because we're so extreme in our politics now, we're ending up at the bottom of the circle instead of on the sides. Because, right, if you think about it, the moderate is at the top of the circle, the extremes are at the bottom of the circle, and everyone else, depending on what side of the spectrum are, should fall in between the midpoints, you know, the top and bottom midpoints, somewhere you should fall in there. Truth is, we're going like this. And an example is that you have within the Republican Party this hate for Donald Trump. So I read, and I don't know if you guys saw it today in the Atlantic newsletter, Tom Nichols, if you know who he is, wrote this whole article about supporting Biden's fascist remarks. He ultimately says that the Republicans are not yet fascist, but they're on their way to it. Why am I bringing up this article? Because the part where he references Donald Trump, he has to go out of his way to make negative comments about Donald Trump. So that his entire argument comes from the fact that he's mad at Trump, not from the facts that he's trying to present to us. So he invalidates himself by being petty towards an inconsequential part of the discussion at this point.
Yeah.
If you're going to, you know, right? Because he admits Trump is not the strong arm, because this is what he says. Trump is not the strong man that can lead us to fascism. In fact, he's the weakest president that ever was president, right? Like he makes a statement like that in the article today. And that by alone, like that our entire political discourse revolves around comments like that. And this is one from the Republican side.
Yeah.
You have just as many from the other side, but like you have this
So this debate is coming up when?
a week from tomorrow, September 9th.
September
looking forward
9th.
to it. Looking forward to it.
No, that's not the 9th, is it? That's the 8th.
Yeah, the second Thursday in September.
So that'll be the 8th.
8th, September 8th. Sorry,
Yeah,
September
tomorrow's
8th.
the 1st.
Right, September 8th.
Tomorrow's
But
the
yeah,
1st.
and I mean, I'm not looking to argue with this guy to defeat him. That's not the purpose of why I want to have an opportunity where both me and him can. My goal is to have him stop believing that your political affiliation defines your person's character.
You're not going to accomplish that, though, man.
Of course not, but I'm not going to go in there looking to tear him up. That's not going to be productive. Even if I win, I still lose because I cost me being destructive.
Anytime you're debating or talking, it's particularly on forums like this, you're not convincing the person that you're talking to.
No, you're talking to the audience.
You're talking to the audience.
Right.
No, but again, I'm not going in with the mindset that my goal is to attack this guy. My goal is to have a discourse and engage him openly with facts and history to deal with this issue.
Yeah,
Tyrone.
that explanation is indicative of where our politics are. That we have to now explain. The purpose of a debate is, not to get in there and get all rancorous, but in fact to just engage in intellectual dialogue and try to convince members of the audience of your point.
No,
Speaking
I
of
agree.
speaking of debate and intellectual dialogue, we're having a launch party.
That's a great segue.
Come debate us there.
Feel free.
Debate us there on the rooftop. Just we're having a launch party. We're officially launching MCM. The party's called Liberation. We're gonna have some food, fun. We gotta have some artists there performing with us as well. Free buffet. Just register. The only thing we're asking people to do is register to attend. You must register to attend. It is a secure building that we're going into the rooftop of. So we just need to know you're coming, so we can let you in the door. So all the times you like us on Facebook and say you're gonna attend, that's all good. But if you want to get in the door, you must register. You must register. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun night. All of us will be there. Of course, we accepting donations to help us out. You can donate, in any amount. You can also support us by buying the books, the Total Twins, or also Color Communism, and Common Sense. All those are in the description, and a lot of the material that we talk about and topics that we talk about, I do really stem from those books, or there's something that is said about the things that we talk about within those series of books, particularly Total Twins, and it's shareable for all ages. So I definitely recommend. So I got the Total Twins toddler books, and they have an ABCs of economics. Wow. So we were reading it to my son, right? And my wife was like, "Man, I know some adults that need this." And it's one of those, those real cardboard square, like they're like
the hard books.
Like those toddler books.
Yeah,
and it's going through ABCs of economics, and it's literally amazing, like that the stuff that that's in there. The creators are more libertarian leaning than anything else, but it's practical. It's more about free thinking for your kids, and it teaches a lot about how these systems that we don't want to learn about economics. It teaches a little bit about how they work as well. So I recommend them.
And speaking of economics, transition into what?
How about those Ravens?
No. Yes, speaking of economics, someone who was extremely abused economically was a man by the name of Andrew Tate. When in the last couple of weeks, he was removed completely from every single social media platform.
So I want to say Blanca's comment was kind of interesting.
Which one?
She She said, this guy's made millions, XYZ, so I have no hard feelings about it.
You know what? I caught that. And
That's a fair opinion to have.
it is a fair opinion to have, but basically
I
what
don't
that
agree
is
with it,
saying
but
is, and Blanca, no offense to you, what that's saying is because you decided to do things correctly in your life, make wise business decisions, make wise investments, all of that good stuff. Because your free speech is removed, I don't care. You've made enough money anyway.
I'm not sure if she meant it this way, but what it could also mean, because I thought of this, is this guy's fairly wealthy. I'm sure he has some very wealthy friends. Once you put together your own social media network that you don't have to worry about being excommunicated from.
That's not true. Look what happened with Trump. Google Play will not let Truth Social fit on its platform because they say it doesn't have enough content moderation.
Google.
Did they make that up?
Google, a gatekeeper, will not let him get onto the app.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Have you seen what's on TikTok?
Right. Again,
we just went over people slapping each other.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Like, let's point out, you can go, and there are still problems because to get your product in the hands of the public, there are gatekeepers.
There definitely are.
To compromise their principles.
There definitely are, and it'll be a progression. Now that we know how the Googles and the Facebook of the world, how they are situated, it needs to be some sort of progression to establishing these types of platforms, either on a conservative basis or just a basis of fairness. And
how are you supposed to fight this? Like, here's a good question. DuckDuckGo, right? You remember that?
Yep.
Thing?
I use that.
Supposed to be the greatest thing ever.
Right.
All this stuff. All of a sudden, we're finding out that the people who run it are actually secretly doing everything they say they're not supposed to.
Right.
Not going to do. Like, let's not even get into the whole conversation. I'm just saying, like, you can do everything but the system is rigged. At this point, they have rigged the system to.
And a VPN.
What was that?
So we need a VPN sponsor. Who's going to
We do. We need some Ben Shapiro moments where we talk about our VPN sponsor.
Yeah, we need a VPN sponsor. That's like the
and look, that's why you see a lot of these content creators that produce this controversial content. They're going back to saying, hey, look, I'm on this platform today, but I've got an email list because I might not be here tomorrow, depending on whether or not my opinion, runs afoul.
Wrong people.
Right, exactly. So it's a game of stick and move. I mean, it's really a game of stick and move. It's even gotten down to the point where some of the financial institutions don't even want to allow people to do business with them if they express
ESG.
Yeah,
we've
seen it. I mean, we
heard about the NASDAQ, right? You understand what's going on in this country. So woke is on a whole new level at this moment in history. Like,
they're trying to prevent woke go broke, though.
No,
right?
They're not. They're actually promoting woke go broke to get on the damn exchange. You have to disclose your diversity of your senior management in order to be traded on the NASDAQ. It is your ESG score. They are basically saying you could be the strongest, most stable company on earth with the greatest product that everyone wants. But if you do not have adequate, what we deem adequate representation of groups we deem necessary to be represented, you cannot be traded on our thing. And they stand by it because they've been criticized about it. They stand by it, saying it will create an environment where businesses are doing better business because they're diversified. Even though they know for a fact that diversity in your ranks means nothing towards your bottom line. There is no proof economic. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Real quick, there is some economic proof that diversity can have an effect on your bottom line, but it's not positive.
No, that's what I mean. They're saying that no, 100%. We have proof that it go woke, get broke, go broke, get woke, go broke.
Right.
But they're saying that ESG represents that if you are diversified and your ESG score is high enough, it is a factor that you can use to calculate the returns on a stock, which has no basis whatsoever. It is purely artificially created to enforce a woke mentality on companies that, again, so this is my point. The system is rigged. We talked about fascism earlier tonight. You can talk about Republicans becoming totalitarian or wanting authoritarian rule or trying to force Christian religious rule on people. You can talk about all that shit all you want. But the truth is, there is only one group in this country trying to expand the government to a level that makes it all encompassing. And all the corporations seem to be on board. Because if you're not, you get penalized by the financial society.
So what's that organization?
Banks won't do business, won't lend loans to people.
What's that organization that's trying to make the government?
The Democrats.
But if we're saying the Democrats and the Republicans are the same at this point, how are they? Aren't the Republicans trying to do it too?
I'm saying no. The ideologies. We're talking about practices.
Okay.
So far alt-right, like if you go far enough right, they're as bad as the left in terms of authoritarianism, totalitarianism, their future dictator worshiping people. That's not wrong. The people on the extremes are definitely both. But as a whole, the general party sense of the Democrats always has been bigger government. The more you expand government, the closer you get to fascism. And something they said in the show that is definitely, I disagree with how it was presented because it was presented incorrectly, is the one thing Colleen said that generally you'll see definitions when you Google fascism, it says the right wing. No, that's just the Oxford Dictionary. We went through this, me and Black Chad, and we reviewed definitions of the word fascism, and the only one that consistently uses the term right-wing ideology is the Oxford English Dictionary version of the definition.
And that's Reason's favorite. That's
the only one I use.
But again, that demonstrates that there is a political ideology beyond the definition. They're trying, because the truth is A, it's socialism. It's an advanced form of socialism, as they explained on the show tonight. And B, the only group within this country that's looking for that are socialist Democrats.
Okay, so let me take this back. Let me take this back to what you were talking about before you got. I just want to make sure I understand this completely. I want to make sure I understand this. So basically, what you guys are saying is that that companies are going to risk being a better company with more qualified people to make sure they meet a prerequisite of of
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Hold on, I'll bring it up for you.
That's the definition of go broke.
That's mind blowing to me. It's like, you know what? We want to make sure that we have 50% engineers that are female and male, even though statistics show that women are not really all that interested in STEM. So we're just going to share your screen. I'll pull it up. What was that? Oh,
let's get ready to wrap.
Yeah,
all right, here we go.
I gotcha.
This is ESG. This is ESG. Environmental, waste and pollution. This is your company has to meet these standards to be on the NASDAQ. Waste and pollution, resource depletion. You have to be total into climate change. You have to 100% be on board with the left's understanding of what climate change is and how it affects the world. You have to be totally on board with DEI in the way that the left understands it in its most woke form. And you have to manage your company on those terms. Your tax strategy, all of this has to be in line with that ideology of wokeism, which they call diversity.
All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up.
Yeah,
let's go ahead.
Real quick, Chad, if you want to see that in action, take a look at Disney, okay? And take a look at what they've been producing. Okay, go back to what started the whole comic movie craze out, which was Blade. Okay, showed that genre could be successful. But go and look at what they're producing now, and it's just trash. And they don't care.
Okay. When you say Disney, do you mean like Marvel? Because I think Marvel and Disney because I know Marvel is. It has blown my mind for my daughter and I to be watching She-Hulk the other day, and I'm like, dude, they made her a better Hulk
Did you guys see that?
I was like, wow.
Did you guys see that Babylon Bee article about
Thor: Love and Thunder? She's a better Thor than he is. I'm like, what are you doing? It's to the point in which
at the box office it's not working out, but you bring out a testosterone fueled movie like Top Gun 2, And I mean, he's on his way to having the most profitable movie
It
in
is the most
American history.
profitable movie now, I think. But here, let me read you something. ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance, and refers to the 3 key factors when measuring the sustainability and ethical impact of an investment in business or company. Now, this is the part I want everyone to listen to. Most socially responsible investors check companies out using ESG criteria to screen investments. Professor Bling, you are a resident economic genius. Did that last line measure up to what you know from the world of economics?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. In fact, Warren Buffett's most recent acquisition, he increased his stake in Occidental Petroleum from 16% to 50%. They're not. It's an oil company. Okay, he's not making decisions based on how many.
And so is he not a socially responsible investor now? Does that
Apparently
like
not.
this is what I'm saying? They are creating a class of people that never existed before. Socially responsible invest. Last time I checked, you invested to make money. Period. Your whole purpose is to increase your return.
He can become a socially responsible investor if he wants to. I don't think the shareholders at Berkshire Hathaway would enjoy that. Right now, the stock, one A share is about $420,000. One A share. They've never split. And he's had a rock solid 20% for his.
This is my
not
point.
on ESG.
They're
rock
trying
solid
to
20,
promote
right.
an ideology, and since they can't because there's no practical way to force this on people, right? This mode of thinking, if you disagree, they're making it that there's now a gatekeeper to investing.
Right.
Now it's just a suggestion. How many years till ESG becomes the law? Now you can't trade on the NASDAQ without a high enough ESG score. Like, when does it become I can't invest my money in a free country into a company I want to because it didn't have an ESG? Forget about markets. What happens when when it becomes a legal hurdle?
And that's why, again,
permanent structures.
On the channel, we're talking about changing the definition of wealth. I mean, hard assets, real estate. There's some guy in Chad with 20 cows. He's the richest guy in the village. It's a redefinition that needs to happen. People need to understand that these hard assets and commodities will definitely have more of a place as we get sillier with stuff like ESG.
So look, Tyrone, I want you to close us out with some closing thoughts. Guys, this is just the Pop and Politics after show. We have our guest, Professor Bling, aka Tyrone Keys, the founder of Soldiers of Finance, and you can visit his website at mcenow.com. I want you to just kind of leave us just whatever's on your heart, just something, a closing thought. I want to leave it, to our guest this evening for a final closing thought, and then we're going to get out of here.
All right. Well, I think I'll share what I shared with you guys in the chat a few days ago. You guys, I'm like the odd man out here, and it's really a positive vibe because you guys are still very idealistic, and we need that. Okay. We do not need a bunch of guys like me who are going to buy the farm and just check out. Okay. So I have to take my hat off to you guys because this is what America needs. Okay. If we're going to pull out of the tailspin that we're in.
For mayor of Baltimore.
Absolutely. And I do want to just do a shameless plug. Soldiers of Finance on YouTube. Subscribe.
Yo, if you're not getting your finance information from Professor Bling, you're not getting finance. That's how it goes, people. You're muted. Black Chad, no one can hear you. No one can hear you, bud.
Chad, we can't hear you.
He will have you on a farm in no time. Seriously. I'm serious. Listen to the guy. For real. Smart dude.
Other way. All right, guys. Hey, Chadwick. I'm sorry. Reason, aka Black Chad. What's your name in the other chat?
Say again.
Sir Dingleberry.
No, man. Hashtag I am reason, man. Absolutely.
No, what's your name in the other chat? I gotta find my phone.
No,
Where-
it's
Here, I'll tell you. It's
No, didn't Gimpy give you a name?
yeah, I
What's-
gave everybody names.
Oh man, it's just Black Chad.
It's Black Chad, of course.
God.
I'm
You
saying.
didn't get a good one.
No,
Yeah.
they
Black
had a
Chad
reason
is all
everywhere.
he
It's
needs
had
to
a
be.
reason, yeah.
Golly, come on,
Well,
man.
look, dude, just because you're the honorable mayor-elect JP,
No, what I get? Who is this? What's my name on here?
the honorable mayor-elect, I think.
Oh, so I wish it didn't. It doesn't
Oh
show my
yeah,
name.
I know this guy
Yeah.
gets Professor Bling. I mean,
Oh,
geez.
honorable. Yeah, it is honorable.
I'll tell you.
Well, what do
All
you
right.
mean? He is Professor Blank.
That's Professor Bling, absolutely.
I mean, seriously.
real.
All right, guys, let's get out of here. So, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe
Mhm.
to Metro Conservative Media. Support our channel. Buy the books.
Check me out on the 8:30 show next week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Drop
So
some
Gimpy's gonna be on
bomb.
the 8:30 show tomorrow. We do have an 8:30 show. Soldiers of Finance on YouTube. MCEnow.com. All that stuff. All right, we out,
Hey,
guys.
guys.
Peace.
Yes.
Have a good one.
You
Deuces.
too, Tyrone.